So now I'm screwed, right? So now for me to keep my job, I have to take this thing that can do some detriment to me, and nobody's gonna be responsible. So now I'm gonna be out of a job. I'm not gonna be able to take care of my family, and I'm sick. I could be dead, and no one's gonna, that's it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Hope you got some healthcare insurance because you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those things, I'm like, nobody is taking responsibility if something happens to you. Nobody will even correlate it. So you're effed at that point.
Yeah.
So, all of these things is like, I don't understand. I have been mind blown by all of it, you know, and I've had colleagues that, nurses that are like, I won't take care of somebody who's not vaccinated. I'm like,
how about the do no harm as the first fucking rule of hospital fight club?
The power grab was just like, what in the world are you talking about? Like,
and same thing with the mask, shit drove me nuts. Again, like I think that the biggest problem with both sides is that if you have somebody who isn't playing the politics game and just looking at things purely from a common sense standpoint, it's impossible to argue, and you sound like a cult leader trying to argue for some of these points, like you being in the hospital as a mask as an example, right? So the hey, everybody needs to wear a mask, and forcing it, you can't come in the store without it, you can't come to school, like you're fired at this job if you don't have a mask on. And it's like, think of the hospital setting. The purpose behind it was to prevent it from being spread, right? But I want you to imagine, like, how were people actually using them? Like, and I would say, like, would you allow a surgeon to come in and pull a mask out of his back pocket that he's used for the last 2 weeks and put it on and perform your surgery? Fuck no, you wouldn't.
So here's the mask thing, and I lost friends over this, which
crazy.
I find is very interesting. If you had a deadly disease, right, you are not going to tell people to wear your t-shirt over your head.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to do anything for you. One of the examples I have to give, because I had someone, and I was a little outspoken during all this time, and I got a lot of shit for it. A lot of shit. People would like tag me on these big like liberal pages, and then everybody would come after me, and like, me and Victoria. The mask thing. If it's deadly, right? There's a way that, for a virus, like the minimum requirements at N95, that's the bare minimum requirement. And, to tell people just wear something over your face, I'm like, that's a false sense of security.
Yeah.
And people were wearing yarn masks, people were wearing nylon. I mean, it was just like all these cute little masks, and people made it like a whole trend, which was ridiculous.
It's like the Stanley Cups being fucking.
Exactly. And I'm like, we're making what's supposedly this deadly scare you're like a trend, like wear these cute little whatever. But I had somebody as a doctor who had messaged me on Instagram, and he was like, how are you even a nurse? And usually I just ignore shit because it's like I get a lot of crap. But I was feeling a little spicy that day, and I was like, okay, I'll entertain this. And so I kind of gave him a little smart ass remark and was like, well, I started nursing school at this time, and I had to do all these prereqs. And he's like, okay, smart ass. And I was like, well, what's your point? And I did a post about the mask, and just saying that if you're going to mandate something, there has to be a standard. You can't just say like, just wear whatever. And he was like, how could you be against it and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm going to change the narrative on you. This is now airborne Ebola. Are you going to tell people to wear their t-shirt over their fucking head?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, no. And I'm like, well, why not?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you say, we'll just wear it?
That is a deadly disease. So if you remember Ebola, we had a little scare back in 14, I think it was, somewhere around there.
It was here in Texas.
Well, what happened was it was broken out in Africa.
Yeah.
And they were talking about bringing patients here to get treated. And so because of that, every single hospital had to have a protocol. So just in case one of the patients came there, you had to have, where are you going to put them? Because you have to block off an entire section, and you have to have your dirty room, your clean room, and the whole bit, how you handle deadly diseases, right? And we had to learn how to dress out for it if we had a patient, and it was head to toe. You have to put on your stuff in a certain order. We would have to have another person walk around us to make sure there was no breaches in our PPE. And that's how you handle a deadly virus, which is also, Ebola is a bloodborne pathogen. So it's not airborne, it's not any of that. So it's like, but you were fully dressed out, and to the point where somebody's making sure you don't have breaches in your suit to handle that. but this is supposed to be this like crazy, deadly, going to kill everybody virus, but you're telling them to wear your t-shirt over your head.
Yeah.
That doesn't, and again, that's not logical.
Yeah.
And like the 6 feet thing, right? Like if you're 6 feet away from each other, then, standing in line in the airport and they got their little dots and you have to stay 6 feet, but then we get on the airplane and we're freaking right next to each other, and I'm like, or the restaurants where you have to wear your mask standing up, but as soon as you sit down, you can take it off. Like, where is the logic in this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's none. And that's the thing. And I mean, the bitch of it, and we'll see plenty of it in the comments, the unfollowed,
I know.
And whatever, but it's like,
I've been losing followers daily. So
yeah. I mean, it's just so stupid though. It's like, like clearly it has nothing to do with common sense and,
right.
And actually trying to prevent something. Like this is totally unrelated. Like it's like a gang or cult mentality of a power grab, and it's just stupid.
And that's the thing is like if something deadly does happen, like very deadly, which I suspect is going to happen at some point, I feel like a lot of people are going to think that I can just wear this mask I was wearing, during COVID, and I'm going to be, protected to a certain extent. And it's like, oh, you're gonna be the first to die because you think that's protecting you. So that was my thing, is that you're being very negligent by saying that that's going to somehow protect somebody.
Yeah.
That there's no standard, there's no nowadays the people who choose to wear masks, they're, wearing the N95s now. But, during the whole thing, I could walk into a grocery store, you're going to get pissed at me because I'm not wearing a mask. But if I went to the bathroom, took my underwear off and put it over my head, you'd be like, oh, good job.
Yeah. Well, so similarly, or even dumber than that, a motorcycle helmet. Like I ride all the time. Mm-hmm. If I had my motorcycle helmet on, no problem. Come on in. Like I just want your face covered.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it's with.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how effective it is or not. Yeah. Like a motorcycle helmet. Yeah. Like that's not stopping anything.
No.
But it was fine. Yeah. Like I can't tell you how many fucking convenience stores or places I could walk into.
Yeah.
You got a helmet on? No problem. Yeah. Like, holy fuck.
And that's the thing. This is people who are just going with the flow, right? Because that's what they said. There's no logic behind it. So if you actually ask them, why is this okay and not without one?
Yeah.
Oh, because your face is covered.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's think about, is this protecting you? Is this something you would wear if this was like... If it was Ebola, right?
Yeah. But I
mean,
just the procedure of putting it on the right way, everybody fucks up. Even doctors have going into places like for my kids, physicals or whatever for school, and the doctor's sitting there fucking constantly fucking with it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
oh yeah, people are wearing it under their nose.
Yeah, and it's like the first time you touch it, one time you should take it off, wash your hands, and put a brand new one on.
Yeah.
Like, so if you take it off and put it in your pocket and then put it back, like you're doing no good.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would argue you're actually doing worse. Because it's collecting all of your fucking germs coming out of your mouth in one concentrated area, and now you're touching it. Like now it's on your hands. It wouldn't have been if you didn't have shit covering your face. Like it's doing more harm than good wearing it the way you're wearing it.
Yeah, that was a bizarre time. Like, I really felt like I was the only healthcare person who didn't get the memo that everybody else got. Because I'm like, why is nobody else questioning this stuff?
So wild.